Until the 2000 election, the corrupt bargain of 1824 was the most controversial election in American history. John Quincy Adams was the first candidate. He served as Secretary of State under the James Monroe administration since 1817. He claimed himself that he had an unexciting personality, but his long career path of public service made him very well qualified for the job of president. Andrew Jackson, who came from being self-educated, was the second candidate. People were concerned because he was very ill-tempered. He had previously killed men in duels and had been wounded by gunfire in confrontations. But following the victory over the British at the Battle of New Orleans in 1815, General Jackson became a larger-than-life American hero. He was then elected as senator from Tennessee in 1823 and immediately began positioning himself to run for president. Henry Clay was the third candidate. He was the Speaker of the House and was a dominating political figure of that time period. If the Electoral College didn't have a majority, the House of Representatives would then vote for president, where Clay had lots of influence. The final candidate was William H. Crawford. He's mostly forgotten about today, but back then in Georgia he was a very powerful figure who served as senator and the Secretary of Treasury under James Madison. Crawford was considered a strong candidate even though he suffered a stroke in 1823, which rendered him partially paralyzed and unable to speak. He was still supported by some politicians. Votes were tallied from across the nation. Jackson came in first, followed by Adams, then Crawford, and finally Clay. As the popular vote was counted, some states were picking electors in the state legislature, and therefore did not tally an electoral vote. The Constitution states that the majority vote from the Electoral College is needed to win. However, because some states didn't submit a vote, the House of Representatives had to choose the sixth president. Clay was eliminated right away because only the top three candidates could be considered. He then made it known he was supporting Adams. Before he announced that, though, they met at Adams' home and talked for several hours. Whether they reached some sort of deal is unknown, but it was assumed. Adams, of course, won and became the sixth president of the United States, and Clay was then named Secretary of State. After Adams was announced the president, Jackson named the election the corrupt bargain. He was so angry about what he considered manipulations in Washington that he resigned his Senate seat and returned to Tennessee. He began planning for his next campaign that would make him president 4 years later.